To Ngoje. Could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Patricia Jacob MPAGALA.
Yeah, tell me, what is your profession?
I work as a forensic community psychiatric nurse.
What does that mean?
Well, it means like you're practically a psychiatric nurse, but you've specialized in forensic and you deal with criminal minds with mental health or criminal behavior with mental health. I work in the prison.
In the UK?
Yes, I work in the prison in the United Kingdom, in London, in North London.
Tell me, I understand that there are so many young people who have been incarcerated in prison. Do you know why are young people becoming more offenders?
Well, as what's going on right now, there's a lot of social factors can contribute to that. Deprived areas, and it can be family values as well, how a child is brought up at home. It can be it's poverty. It's all a lot of things. Mental health contributes a lot, and drugs and alcohol as well. ADHD, if you've heard of it, where young people are get to be diagnosed with that when they're probably age 7, where a child is very hyperactive and cannot concentrate. They get probably suspended or kicked off of school when they're like in primary school. Their behavior escalates to secondary school, so they don't really do well in academics. So as soon as a parent acknowledge that and the child gets help, then it can help. It can give a child a better future. But usually a lot of people don't really acknowledge or understand what ADHD is. So it ends up to criminal behavior.
Now let me come back to you. How does your day look like?
We of course have to collect my keys, use your fingerprint to get in the prison, then you collect your keys that help you to run around within the prison, because every place in prison's got huge gates, so it needs a key. So you have a belt with a pouch which you put keys in it, and then get to my office, log into my computer, respond to the emails that I get. So the emails can be from the court, they can be from community mental health outside, can be from the GP, can be from the police station. So I have to respond to that, and then I have to look at any emergency through the screen. That person who comes in with the first time in prison, murder charges, we have to see them, because as you know, it's not human really to commit a crime as murder, and especially if it's a young person, we have to see them. So we check on the day who is on duty. That is like you're practically on call. So if you're on call, you have to go and see that person, and just to find out what's going on, if it's got some mental health issue that need to be resolved or something like that. And then we can get a clinic sometimes where we have medication to give, injection usually we do, for people who've got some severe mental illness but they've been incarcerated. So we use injection, that is type of medication that they have to maintain their stability of mental state, to be there. And another part of it, we do assessment. So you will get the referrals from other professions within the prison. It can be a prison officer, it can be in education within the prison, it can be through a GP, or it can be a court, like I said. And that referral, it can say for a person who he's been in court behaving bizarre, but he's been sentenced, or he's on remand, you'll be coming to your prison, can you please assess? So we go and see them. So we do like a triage assessment. So after that, we go to the wings, of course, where we see them, and then we go back to the office and write up the assessment and find out any information from outside. So we liaise with the court, with the police, with the GP, with mental health services in the community outside the prison. So yeah, that's my daily to pay. By the time we finish, well, the challenge is it's really sad when I see a young man, black man, some of them are very, very smart, and they are absolutely charged with horrendous offense. I think that is a challenge for me, and it's sad. And some of them, they actually come from absolutely great background, probably a mom is an accountant, the dad is a lawyer, and there are few of them, you find them, and then you wonder what actually went wrong. And then another challenge is when you see the older black man who's supposed to be a peer mentor or role model with young people, they end up in prison as well because of something of petty crimes as well. And something else, that the offenses that we see on daily basis on TV here, it can be on BBC or ITV, and then I tend to see them in the prison. It's within my geographical area where the prison are located, sees East and the North London and Northeast. And you see them live, while a lot of people see them on the TV, and sometimes we tend to see them, we have to interview them. It can be very frustrating. Yeah, it can be very frustrating to understand why somebody has actually committed such a horrific crime. So that can be a challenge. So you just need to know how, when you finish your work, how you can manage to stay sane, to keep your sanity. And yeah, I try.
How do you detox?
How do I detox? I'm not alcoholic, but once in a while, I enjoy my wine once in a while. And I try, as soon as I come out of my work, I switched off. I think I have learned and taught myself very well how to switch off. So as soon as I leave the keys behind, where I have to put them back on where it's supposed to be, from work, walking out to my car, driving home, I have switched off completely. So I think it's something that you learn. You have to learn how to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be insane. And I've got my church as well, where I go every Sunday, praise, and have have my strong faith. That praying can be helpful as well. And music, well, mingling with family and friends, that can be helpful as well. So yeah.
Let's go back to crime and deviance and see why do you think, why is it that statistics show that there are so many young black men in prison than any other ethnicity?
Well, like I said previously, it can be poverty, deprived areas, culture. You know, I know there is a lot of myth, and there's a lot of, I don't know, they talk about black people, the system is like designed for black people to go to prison. I can agree and disagree to that. But it's up to a parent and community. You know, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. As soon as you think your child has got an issue, I think something needs to be resolved. And a lot of black people, you know, let's say African, they usually don't trust their child will end up in jail one day. But then you're forgetting you're raising a child in the Western world. They are adopting to a lot of things that you probably, when you're in Africa, in Tanzania, you didn't really have. Or you did, but you managed. But kids up here, the social media where they want to set in trainers, they want to set in top, a certain swear, a certain laptop, a certain phone, and then probably mom and dad don't have that money, they don't have that income, and then the child decide, you know what, let me involve myself in a gang, where that's another issue of gangs. They join and they start running drugs and get that money, but they're forgetting that it's temporary. And then you have another issue where I have met parents where they're happy for their child to bring money at home. So a child who's 16 years old, running drugs outside, bringing some money at home, and you find a mother celebrating, I think that is a big problem. And I have met some parents who are like that, and I speak to them and they find it as if I am actually, what's the word? I'm challenging their parenthood. Parenting skills, which I do and I am at the same time, but some parents, they actually agreed and think it's fine to their child to bring money at 16. A boy who is 16 at that age, they should be in college, they should be in high school, they should be doing something rather than running drugs outside. And then we have an issue of single parenting. not all the single parenting kids that end up in jail, but there is majority as well. According to statistically, there is a lot of kids who are raised from a single parent. I'm a single parent myself, and I don't wish that for my son to ever end up in prison. But you have to acknowledge things, because remember, you're a dad and your mom at the same time, and sometimes parents close the blind eye of something they have seen because they're so tired to be a good guy, the bad guy, because you're a mom and a dad, and you have to provide everything for your child, and you want the best for your child. I think sometimes parents, they're soaked up into so much work, into other things, they're forgetting that their own needs. Not like they're forgetting is something that they wish to forget, is something that because they have so much on going on in their daily life, they have so much on. And we do have a lot of this as well, kids from both parents, but like I said, social factors, areas that we live in and who you're associating with. A lot of kids nowadays are joining gangs at very early ages, 10. And at 10 years old, joining a gang, you don't even know what life is. And you can easily soaked in there. So practically that's your second parent. And you have a lot of that. A lot of them are black kids. From where I work, I have seen a lot of young people coming to prison in the gang, like in a serious gang, where they tell you that I'm not allowed to go in a certain postcode because there are some enemies, as they call them, pagans of that place, which is sad. We should have freedom of movement, freedom of moving anywhere wherever that you live, but when there's gangs involved, you're so restricted. And a lot of these kids that we see on the street, a lot of them are restricted of where to go and where not to associate with because of the gang that they've joined in. And then you have an issue where parents working long days, long nights. They don't know what their child is doing at home. Most of the time they're at work looking for money. I want to build a big house somewhere, mansion in Tanzania somewhere. And you're forgetting as well your child that you're actually living in the house there is doing some things. So if you're working, you're probably dad doing nights and mom doing long days, when are you be able to know what's going on with your child? You can't, because you practically, by the time you come home, you're so tired and late. Probably you have to catch up with the cleaning or catching up with cleaning, catching up with every other thing, cooking. That takes time. But with the long days working on the clock, you don't know what your child is doing. I have had instance where I have met a boy one time in the prison when I used to work in young offenders. I asked him, because he told me his mom was a nurse, and I was so curious. So I asked him further question, like, so how many were you? He was like, oh, we were 5, but our dad walked us on us, and they were not happy. So that was an alarm as well. And then, but their mom works long days and long nights. Their mom was, they're originally from Nigeria. And their mom was, you can tell, she was a very hard-working woman. She had to feed 5 kids. But most of them are really good. He's the only one turned up in prison. And they say to me that when the mom used to work night, they connected their mobile phone to the landline. So the mom will call the landline to find out if the kids are at home actually sleeping. So that mobile phone will connect to the landline will connect to a mobile phone, and he will pick up anywhere in London. He'll say, "Yeah, mom, I'm in bed." Meanwhile, he's probably in a car running drugs. That's what he used to do, he said. And every time the mom will think, "Oh yeah, my child is at home." And one day the police raided the house. They found a lot of drugs in his room. So the mom started wondering what happened, because every day she thought that she's calling home, the kids are home sleeping, but meanwhile this one was running around doing whatever that he's doing. So things like that, we just, as a parent, we just have to to be vigilant. And no matter how many hours you work, you have to know that you have a child, a little person to bring up to this world, where this world is a beautiful place, but people are turning bad. There are people who are practically there to destroy kids, and not just black people, even white people as well. There's a lot of other gangs, like they've got Albanian gangs, they've got other East European gangs. They're big gangs, but you don't really hear them killing each other. There's a lot of black young people killing each other, which is very sad. So when you look at statistically, like how young people are killing each other, that in the next 20 years, where probably you and I 30 years or 40 years retiring, you're expecting this at least young people to be in a cabinet, in the parliament somewhere, or running the bank or governor somewhere, but then all of them in jail. Because as you know, in this country, as soon as you have criminal record, it's very hard to pursue.
Yeah, let's go into sentencing. Do you think that British criminal law is lenient? Because these people will commit a murder and they come out halfway their sentence sometimes. Do you think there's a problem with the sentencing?
I think there's an issue. I always believe there's an issue with the legal system, but then when you look at it the other way, that in the prison they're not doing a lot of rehabilitation work. So even if someone else has got a murder charge and they've been in the prison for, they're probably sentenced 20 or 15 years, and then they have to do 7.5. But within 7.5, are they actually rehabilitated? No. Most of them, no. I know they always say about resources. They don't have much resources in the prison, and they don't have a lot of money to fund and to run things. But they're not within the 7.5 years. There should be a certain structure, for them to actually have, so that by the time the person has finished his sentence, they're actually coming out to prove as a good civilian. But then again, if they were given 15 years, they should do 15 years. Why? I don't understand why they have. But apparently there's changes coming to certain crimes. I've heard that things are going to be changing on a certain crimes where it's going to be big crimes. I don't know if it's going to be sex offenders, where if you're going to get 15 years, it's 15 years. It's something that I read last 2 weeks. So let's sit and wait. But so far, it's not lenient, no.
Let's talk about the issue that you spoke about, the background of some of the offenders. I wanted to concentrate on one, and that is the issue of broken family that pushed this young person in crime. You as professionals, what do you do with a chap, for example, has come from a broken family? When he finishes his sentence, how do you rehabilitate those people? Do you take them back to that environment that they were in the first place before they went to jail?
Okay, so within my work is, because I do more for the mental health. Let's say, I'll give an example. If I have one or couple on my caseload that they've got probably severe mental health issues and they have long sentence in prison. So after they serve their sentence, we actually liaise with community mental health outside in the community where they continue with their treatment. And we have psychology, people who are absolutely broken, that they need psychology input. We do make sure they get psychology input in the prison and outside. And accommodation, we try to help. We refer to some of them to either council, or we have other support housing where they do help people who have got severe mental health issues and they've been in prison, and we do refer them to them. They usually come before they get to be released, so they come and they do assessment on them to see their needs and what they can put in place. So we tend to do that as well. We can only by referring, but we can't go outside and get a house for them. There's a lot of shortage for that. And we have places where they call them approved premises, where approved premises, it works together with, so you have curfews. It's a place where they come out, they can be referred and stay in the support housing accommodation, where at 6 o'clock, you have to be in the house. If you come in late, you go back to prison. So you're on a strict curfew, you're in license, or it's like being on tag. So these houses are very, very, they're called approved premises. Not everyone goes in there. So usually people have got been in sentence for a long time, and they've got very complex issues, and sometimes we start them with our approved premises first before they can go to normal accommodations.
Let's round up this with talking about the rising knife crime in London and upcountry as well. Now, what do you think is the problem, and how do you think the government should tackle this, or the community as well?
That is a challenge one. I think children, first of all of them, they should engage in something. You 16-year-old, what are you doing on the street? That's an issue. What is the 16-year-old boy doing on the street? They should be engaged in certain kind of scheme, either apprenticeship. They should create more opportunity for these boys. I know most of them, they'll tell you, I don't want to go to class anymore, school is not for me. Some of them, they're very good with their hands, physical things. They're very creative. They should create those things for them. The government should put money into that. They should find a pot of money for these kids to be engaged. They should not be seen. There actually should be more community police officers, where if a young boy who is 16 roaming around, they look young, even if they might be 17, but probably they're 15, roaming around the street where they're supposed to be in school, they should be stopped and asked, what are you doing on the street? What are you doing on the street? And yes, stop and search should continue. And I think in school as well, the teachers need to be given right to search. The teachers are supposed to be given right to search, because some of these kids go with knives to school, and then they don't get to be searched. And they come out there and they have a beef with someone somewhere, and they go with a knife and knife them. But then they've been working with that knife probably in school. I think in school, teachers need to be given right to search. They need to be invited a lot of activities, the colleges, centers for these kids who they think they cannot perform in academically, but something else they should be engaged with. Parents need to be aware of to work with the community and churches and mosques.
Yeah, on the last note, I want you to give an advice to a parent or young person who is watching this program now, how to stay safe.
First of all, as a parent, you need to be knowing your child's schedule for a day. I think you need to know, and if your child has got a new trainers and very expensive, you didn't buy, where the money is coming from, who funded that? And as a parent, you need to be vigilant of the area that you live. If you think there's trouble, start involving yourself, engage with the school or the police. Some schools have got these schemes to help parents, to support parents in time of these things. And as young people, as soon as you actually walk on the street and somebody stop you for either you want to join something, whatever, just say thank you, and then just walk off. Or find nowadays in Stratford there are some Stratford shops are working with the police, where it's safe. They've got tags on the windows on the shops where you can go in and ask for help. And just don't engage yourself in, if you have any issue, speak to mom, speak to the nearest police station, speak to your teachers, but don't get yourself pulled in something that you cannot come out. And don't be deceived by money. That is a very temporary situation.
Thank you.